Hello, hello. Is that Martha? Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. Please let me know where you are tuning in from and if you can hear me clearly because I'm not putting a mic on or anything. Hey, y'all, welcome in. Welcome in, welcome in. So I don't know how long we're going to be out because this cottonwood and these, ooh, child, stuff flying around. But let's just see. So y'all pray for me that we make it through our conversation today. But welcome into the self-care suite. Oh, excuse me. I am on two platforms, so you'll see my gaze going from one camera to the other. I am Coach Robin Renee, and in this capacity, I'm serving as your host in the Self Care Suite. And this is where we come on Sundays, 3 p.m. Central Standard Time, to kick off our shoes, relax our feet, and share. First, we discuss the many ways to wellness, but we also share useful, sustainable, low cost or no cost self care strategies because financial challenges should not prevent us from investing in our wellness account every single day. Every single day, you should be doing something for self care. What's up, Swaggings? What's up, Swaggings? So, we're going to get started with our conversation. Child Swaggins, I thought you would be asleep somewhere right about now. Right about now. But I'm talking about your events because that's a part of our conversation for today. Thank you so much for liking the live. Again, let us know where you are chiming in from, what side of the globe, not your actual address, but what side of the globe. Swaggings, let me know how this volume sounds because I don't want to use my voice too much because, like I said, all this cottonwood and these allergens and all this kind of stuff. So just pray for me that I make it through. Okay, so you can hear me all right because I just turned the volume up on both devices. So again, welcome in if this is your first time here, and welcome back if you've been here with us before. But today, and this conversation actually kind of dawned on me sometime during this day with me moving around about psychological self care and what does that look like? Do you know what it is, and do you have strategies to improve or increase your psychological self care? And there were several things that got me to that point to where I came to the conclusion of let's talk about psychological self care. What's up, Chicago, Chicago? So, how I got to that, and Swaggins, I'm gonna start with your event because you know that was a whole mind shift thing. And if you all wait, let me pin Swaggins. So you all should be following her because she runs the Plated community. Where can I? I don't see where it just let me reply. It's not letting me pin you. Okay. Um, Follow Swaggins. I see you say 20. I'm not sure what that is. But follow Swaggins. She runs the Plated community at 6:30. Correct me if I'm wrong, but put it in the chat, Swaggins. 6:30 on Sundays Central Standard Time. And it's about basically what I'm going to talk about today, shifting your mind around your food, the way you eat, the way you prepare your food, what you think about food, how food works in your body. 6 p.m. Oh, 6:30 p.m. So 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. You can I mod you? Child, I don't know. Y'all just listen. Just help me out. Just kind of talk to the other people in the chat in case they get out of hand. I hear my voice kind of going. Thank you so much for getting your heart me. So we're going to talk about in our psychological self-care, a lot of it has to do with how we think. And so that's what I was saying about the Plated community. So if you're not following Swaggings, make sure you follow Swaggings. What's up, Tashi? Also, follow Tashi Wellness because she got all kind of fitness classes that, and don't be fooled when you see chair fitness. Take it. Take that class. Take that class. It's not letting me pin people for some reason. I don't know. So we're going to talk about psychological self-care. So this is how I came to this. Not that I planned on it. It just dawned on me today that would be something good to talk about. So I've had these experiences since Thursday, like the actual physical in-person experiences. But before that, it's been a journey. But so these last few days, and I am peopled out. Let me tell you, because I'm actually a social person, but the older I get, I'm not trying to be in crowds like that. But anyway, I done been in some crowds, over these past few days. So on Thursday, Swaggings or D's Fit to Run had a gala, and it was surrounding just health and fitness and wellness and mindset shifts around what you do with your body, what you do for your body. Thank you so much. Is that Tracy? Tracy Jones. Don't be distracted, Tracy. Stay focused. Stay focused. So that's what the gist of the gala was. It was fancy, the fancy spot in downtown Chicago. But the people in the room had a certain mindset when they came in. They were in the mindset that this organization that's hosting this event is doing something so good that I want to be a part of it. I want to be a part of supporting it. It wasn't about, people coming in to see what they can get, or, conversations they can have to promote themselves, even though there was some networking going on. But the networking that was going on, at least in the conversations I had, the networking that was going on, one, it was just commending and complimenting how well the event was. The event was beautiful. How well, and then also how proud we all were of Dina Patterson, who is the founder of D's Fit to Run, and what she has been doing to constantly pour into her community to increase health and wellness. So that's what that event was about. And like I said, even with the networking, the mindset was so different from, I'm going to use the word average just for the sake of keeping this conversation moving. I'm not saying that people are average, but you got to have averages before you have exceptional and below average. So anyway, but the common, I'm going to say common. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the hand hearts. But the common mindset when it comes to health and wellness or fitness, whatever you decide, thank you all for joining us. Whatever you decide to identify it as, but it's about your body. It's about your temple. But that encompasses not just the physical aspect, it encompasses the emotional, the spiritual, and the psychological, which is how I ended up wanting to talk about psychological self-care. So starting with that event, it was really hard to be in that room, and I'm just an observer. Let me give you a little bit of background. I'm an observer in that room, but I'm also in the wellness industry. Been in the wellness industry since 1989, so I'm not new. I'm not new to this. I'm true to this. So I'm not new to the wellness industry, and I also have a degree in psychology. So I like to know the whys. I like to know the whys of when people are doing something, good or bad. Why? I like to know backstories. I like to know how people arrived at their journey. So that's how I observe spaces that I'm in. So I had to say that before I say this. It seems that it would have been really difficult for someone in that room to be negative. Like, there was just so much positivity going on. It was so much positivity going on in the room. It seems like. Now, if somebody was there that was negative, I don't know. I didn't see it. From what I witnessed, everything, was moving, in a smooth direction. So that's one. So that's one event. Just talking about or thinking about the mindset of the people who entered that room and who wanted to see this organization grow, who wanted to support what this organization is doing when it comes to wellness, when it comes to fitness, when it comes to wellness. You got to be in a certain space psychologically, not only psychologically, emotionally, biologically, physically. That you're in. I told y'all, let's hope we make it out here. So you have to be in a certain mindset. So it was so much, and there was no negativity. It was really amazing. I didn't experience it. That's why I said, at least in the sections where I was in, it was positive. It was positive, moving forward, positive. I feel like y'all are way up here. I don't know why I pulled this up here. I'm sitting in the park. Wait. Okay, talkers, hold tight. Okay, that feels a little bit better. Okay, tubers, for some reason, you all look a little further back, even though your camera is forward. So that was one event. And then on Saturday, which was yesterday, right? Yeah, because today's Sunday. So oh. So I'm trying not to laugh because I don't want this stuff. Like I said, it's a bunch of stuff flying around here. So y'all bear with me. So on Saturday was the conference. So she had a conference. She has a conference. It was the 10th year of the conference of D's Fit to Run. And the same thing. Same energy, different people. It was a few of the same people that were there on Thursday, but for the most part, it was, there were different people in there, but it was the same energy. So again, psychologically, you can call it a mindset shift, which is what it is, but your mind, that's your psyche, that's your psychology. Having these mindset shifts is a part of psychological self-care, or at least that's what I'm deeming it as. It's a part of your psychological self-care. So I'm posing the question, I'm making the observations. Do you have you even paid attention to your psychological self-care? Or do you have a regimen, or do you have strategies that you turn to or that you rely on for your psychological self-care? Or do you just put it all in the basket and say, this is just stress and I don't want this stress? Because people deal with different things different ways. So that's one question that I have. Another is if you don't have a plan, or you haven't even thought about, like, what is psychological self-care? Like, what does that mean? It's a mindset shift, but I want to frame it as self-care. So just like you would take care of, if it's hair and nails, if that's your self-care, if it's massages, if that's your self-care, if it's some form of mindful movement, low impact exercises, that's your self-care, if it's biking, if it's swimming, sewing, reading, whatever it is, do you have the same care for your, yeah, it definitely starts with shifting your mindset. Do you have the same care that you invest in your psyche, in your mindset? That's your psychological self-care. So again, so back to, the conference. And so there was an exercise that we did in the conference, and there were questions that were posed, and we were partnered up or grouped up, because some people did maybe 3 or 4 in a group. And there was a commonality, or that common thread that ran through the people in the room, but it came from different directions, which is a part of what we do here in the self-care suite. Ooh, chair, don't play. Do not. A bug in my lip gloss. Hold tight. We got to shut this production down. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't be like that, bugs. Yeah. Anyway, so in the self-care suite, when we talk about, we're going to discuss the many ways to wellness. That's a part of that common thread. Like, you may get there through one avenue, whether it was chosen or whether it chose you. Sort of like that thug life, yeah, thug life chose me, I ain't choose it. So whether a circumstance or a situation chose you to get it together for your self-care, or whether you decided to prevent something from happening and you say, okay, well, let me get into this for my self-care. That's what we saw that was weaved throughout that room. And once the conversation was opened up at the end, people saw that there were more things that were common among the group than there were not. And it had to do with, a lot of it had to do with, where are you psychologically? So again, you'll hear the term mindset or mindset shift, but your mind is your psyche. So I want to reframe it from mindset. It is a mindset shift for sure. For anything that you do, if you decide you're going to tie your left shoe before your right, if you normally tie the right before the left, you have to change your mind. So it's a mindset shift. So that is it. So I'm not saying that it's not a mindset shift, but I want you to look at it in terms of self-care. Because do you really think about your mindset shifting as psychological self-care? Let me know. Put that in the chat. Put that in the chat. Do you really think about that? Do you think about, if I change my mind, this is me taking care of my psyche. This is psychological self-care for me. That's what it is. That's your mind, is your psyche. So that's the conversation that, I want to have. And so from those events, me being in those different spaces, it just this week alone, I'm an observer of people. I do like observing people. Not creepy though. Not creepy. Oh, let me tell y'all something. This is off subject. It's on subject, but I want to put this in here. So there was this guy, this older gentleman in the park walking his dog. And he spoke, told him have a nice day and all that, right? So he was like, good luck with your photos. I was like, thanks a lot. He just don't know how much I need that for real, because I'm out here, like I said, in these elements with this cottonwood flying around. But anyway, so I sit down and I set up. I'm going somewhere with this. Just what I just said, I'm an observer of people. So when I set these cameras, so it's 2 cameras. So one is here. This is my talkers. These are my tubers. So I shouldn't, but a lot of people don't think, they don't think like that. So I done set up my camera. So he comes back over here, him and his dog, he comes back over here and he said, only if you were spying on the people across the street, because there's some houses that's across the street in the park. And I was like, nah, I'm sitting here on this bench minding my business. I got some, people I'm talking to, on my camera. And he said, but that would be so much more fun. He said that spying on the people across the street would be so much more fun. This is my point. I ain't no creep. I not. That's what he said. I ain't no creep. I'm like, nah. I mean, I observe people like the psyche of people like that psychology stuff, but not like that. I guess he figured she got two cameras. She about to really no. I said no, sir. I'm gonna sit here on this bench and mind my business. And he started laughing and he walked away. Yeah, you going somewhere because you don't sound too safe, but whatever. Anyway, so yeah, so let's get back. Let's get back on track. So I do like to observe people. It's not out of judgment. I'm curious about human nature and the motivation for people to do things. So there's also some other incidents that kind of fed into this that made me want to talk about our psychological self-care. So there's a creator on the talk. Okay, let me put the disclaimer. This is not about her. This is not about what she's doing. She's doing her job as a top creator on the app. She's not on the tube, she's on the top. So I got to talk to the top people. Don't go and be talking about Coach Robin said this. I'm not even going to say her name. If you know who she is, and you just know who she is. But she's one of the, the top creators on the app. But her lives have popped up, on my page quite a few times. And so I actually listened. This was earlier. I think it was earlier today. It was one afternoon. It may have been earlier today or yesterday afternoon. I don't know. My day, like I told you, I've been peopling. So I'm just at the age now that too much people and be doing too much to my psychological self-care. So anyway, so I watched from the outside. I did watch from the FRP. I didn't go into her room. So she's talking to her chat and explaining to her chat. She's bringing people up in the panel. So she had a side panel. She'll bring people up in the panel for a 1-minute spotlight so that other people can engage and connect with them. Okay, so we good? Sounds fair, right? So she'll give you a 1-minute spotlight when you come up on the panel. Can I call it a requirement? Yeah, I'm just gonna call it a requirement just for the sake of moving this conversation on. The requirement to get on the panel for the 1 minute was that you gave a gift of 1K or more. So she wasn't just bringing you up. You're not just coming up there. You had to do something. So you had to engage. That's a part of the engagement, being in her room. You had to do something. So you give the gift of 1K or more. She puts you up, on the panel. And people get to engage with you. And for my tubers who don't understand, or if you don't know what that means, when people are engaging with you, they're either connecting with you and they become a part of your team, or they become, they call them followers or fans, or I think it's the fan club now. But anyway, so that's how you get more people. And when I tell you, 1 second, y'all. Okay, y'all hold. Ooh, pray for me, because the stuff is going around. When I tell you, her panel was not empty at all. I watched her probably about 20 minutes. She's very nice, very pleasant. She explained things, very well. But what I saw were people who were willing. So again, you got to have a mindset shift. There may have been some people like, I'm not about to, give her no 1K gift or whatever to get up there. But that panel was not empty at all. It stayed full. She's, engaging with a moderator, having a moderator make sure that she's getting people and she's pulling people up, giving them the 60 seconds. So that 60-second spotlight also allows them to be in front of her audience, which is, you say, the mindset of her. There you go. That's where I'm going. The mindset of her followers. That's why I told you this is not about her. So I don't want nobody going, putting stuff up, screenshotting me and all. This is not about her. I said that in the very beginning. She did her job. She did her job as a creator. That's what she's supposed to do. It's an engagement room, and that's what she was doing, explaining everything. But the mindset of her followers was, what do I need to do? And once they found out what they needed to do, they did it. They did it. And in order to get back up there again, what do you have to do? You got to give another gift of 1K or more. So the mindset, me and my observation, so you said the mindset of her, oh yeah, okay, yeah. So thank you so much for the hand hearts. So I'm looking like, wow. So there are things that we already know people are going to do whatever they want to do, and they're going to make the means happen, right? They're going to make it happen to get what it is they're trying to get. But on one end, this is for popularity. We're talking about a social media app. Again, this is not about that creator because she did her job. She's in the right space. She's doing what she's supposed to do as an engagement room hostess. This is not about her. What I'm observing is, and I don't know these people, so I'm not judging them. I'm I'm watching them. I'm observing the behavior that they're having to get up there and just making a generalized comparison to the larger population. So let me say that. Again, I don't know them and I don't know the larger population. So I'm looking in this little window, literally, looking in this little window, which is a sample of the greater population, that people have a desire. That's a part of your psychological self care because this is in your mind. This is what you're thinking of. They have such a desire to want to be connected with, to want to be liked, to want to be popular. Because a part of that engagement, you get more people with you, you become more popular. So, in order to become more popular, they are willing to pay because that's what it is. You're paying. You're paying. A 1K gift or more, you are paying. You ain't getting up there. She made that very clear. So, stop asking her down there in the chat if you don't have a 1K gift or more. So I didn't see the gifts because I'm on the outside, so I don't even know, what the people were given. But I'm thinking like, wow. Now, when we're talking about wellness or health and wellness, do people have that same, as they say, energy behind improving their health and wellness? Like, I'm going to do whatever it is right now, right? Not when something breaks down, because that's generally what happens. People end up in the doctor's office or they end up on an operating table or something like that. And then that's when they say, oh, I guess I got to make some changes, in order for me to stand up again. But what would that look like if people say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do whatever I can do prior to a breakdown, prior to things falling all apart? Because that was about popularity. There were so many people who had a goal. Like, I'm guessing because I couldn't see her chat because she would say, Melissa. Melissa is on the spotlight now, and Melissa needs 40 more people to engage with her to meet her next goal. So I'm just guessing because I couldn't see the chat that they may have said, I need 40 more people for me to reach my next goal. So they were trying to reach 1,000 followers or they were trying to reach 5,000 or whatever it was. But she knew their goal. So I'm just guessing that that may have been a part of the dynamics in her room because she was saying the numbers. Like this person needs 12 more people. This person needs 16 more people. So people have set this goal that if I achieve this, I'm good, right? If I just get 1,000 followers, if I just get 1,000 followers, then I can do, you can monetize on certain apps, so there are certain things you can do. If I can get 5,000 followers, but they knew who to go to, because she was getting them in. Hey, if that was the train I was on, I'd probably be waiting at her stop too. I'm just saying, because she knew what she was doing. It was such a well oiled moving machine. Like the wheels were going. When I heard her say, all right, we need, did she say 200 or it was a low number? We need to get to 1,000,000 taps. I'm like, go ahead, girl. It was a low number. It may have been 200, 250. It was low. It was under 500 to get to 1,000,000 taps. And this was about being popular. This was about getting people to connect with me so that I can be popular. That's what this was about. It's an engagement live. Engagement means you want people to come into your community or to be attached to you on some level so that you can be popular. And the more people that you get, that's true. That's the more popular that you are. So I'm thinking that's incredible. Now, she didn't go out looking for nobody because people just kept coming into the room. She would speak or whatever. I don't think she did. Let me just take that back because I didn't see her whole live. Like she popped up in my FYP and her live was already going on. So I don't think she went out and got nobody. It just didn't seem like she was going out getting people. It seemed like people knew who to come to when they wanted to get this. So I'm thinking psychologically, you got to be in a certain space. You have to be in a certain space to be willing to do something like that. So then it also gets me to thinking people have the capacity to think about getting ahead, think about moving ahead in all aspects And we already know with people, we make those choices of where we're going to move ahead and where we're going to get ahead. But for whatever reason, and I'm not going to throw out any statistics, you already know. Oh, let me blink twice because we in America, especially in America, but just worldwide. We already know when it comes to health, it's like people have to be made to take care of their own selves, of their own bodies. And I don't even want to say amazing, but that's something for me to see, right? Like, so someone else outside of you, or something, some entity outside of you has to say, I'm no longer going to do X, Y, Z. So yes, and it's going to have to shift. Yeah, it's definitely going to have to shift. It's definitely going to have to shift. So you got a pain in your leg. Starts off as a small pain, maybe at the bottom of your leg, then it moves up, so it gets a little worse. You get a little limp, you thinking you're okay. And so I'm just using this as a scenario. Now, our bodies are very resilient, but they always keep the score. Remember that. Your body keeps the score. Our body knows how to compensate when something else is malfunctioning. So just going back to the leg example, you get a little limp, a little bit more of a limp, right? So now you drag and you're doing the whole Captain Hook thing. Still not trying to go to the doctor. Still not going to going to see about it because you're thinking they're going to tell you something bad. But it's getting bad, right? It's getting worse because it started off at your ankle and it started off as a little pain. So now it moved up. Now you got this limp going on. Thank you all for coming in, liking the live, sharing the live, and doing all of the things. So by the time it moves up to your hip, let's just say that if it moved up to your hip, that could have been something, and it's quite possible because this has happened to people, that was eating away at the bone in your leg that could have been prevented when it was at your ankle, when you could have been stabilized, it could have been taken care of, maybe, something could, need to be shaved down or whatever it was. You've gone through therapy and you would have been okay, even if you lost a little bit, not the leg, but the bone. I'm just saying, I'm just using this as a scenario. Even if you lost a little bit of the physical part or a little bit of the function, but you still had everything else intact. So the compensation would not have been as great, but you avoided going for, or a person, I don't want to say you because I'm not accusing anybody, but a person would have avoided going to see a professional about it for so long out of fear of going to see the professional. And then it got so much worse. And then the conversation is, had this been looked at 3 months ago? Had this been looked at 2 months ago? When the things were obvious. Now, there are some things that are going on inside of our bodies that our bodies, again, are amazing. They really are fearfully and wonderfully made. Our bodies are amazing enough that they can mask a lot of things that we really don't know what's going on. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about those obvious things that we know we should go and take care of. But then we have something like what went on in that particular popularity contest. So I'm thinking, like, I wonder, just on a larger scale, what would it look like if people were more motivated to do preventive things as opposed to doing those reactive things that, first of all, have to patch up what was damaged, right? So when it's reactive or when it's happened after the fact, and then you may have lost, a substantial amount of functioning in whatever it is that was going on. So you got to repair that first, if it's possible, or at least get it to, a little bit more of a functioning space, and then move forward from there. And you have to do it with this now compensated, whatever it is, whether it's a limb, whatever it is, if it's a system. So then I'm thinking not globally, I'm thinking nationally on our level, in the United States. Now, again, let me say this, because I got to say this, I guess, on both of them. This is for entertainment purposes only. This is for entertainment purposes only. The opinions here are those of Coach Robin Renee, and, it doesn't reflect the station that you're tuning in from. But when I think about Western medicine, the way that we do things now, currently, because our system wasn't always like this. So if you look into the healthcare, system, it started off, there was a beginning. And so in the beginning, things weren't as geared towards profit. Let me just say that. geared towards profit as they are now. So now it's like, well, how much can we make off of this? Can we cut this down? Can we switch this up? Can we do, and substitute all these things? So that's, you get them commercials. Well, your eye may twitch, your spleen may burst, you may stop breathing, but your toe won't hurt anymore. That kind of stuff. So when I'm thinking about our healthcare system, and especially with the way that certain demographic, certain groups are treated in our country. Again, I'm blinking twice because I'm over here in America. Again, let us know when you come in, where you are coming in from, what side of the globe you're coming from. So you have certain groups that are treated subpar, are treated subpar just based on how they present, not medically how they present, because you can have someone else who presents with the same issue, but depending on how they physically present is going to determine their care. Also, there's assumptions. I'm just going to say that assumptions that are made, in our medical system regarding certain populations about pain tolerance. So there's less of an approval, I guess I can call it that, for a medical professional to say, okay, well, this person may literally, that may really be in pain, so let me prescribe something else, for that. So there's a whole, like, with those bodies there can take it, those bodies can take that hit. And so it puts those groups that are treated subpar, basically behind the eight ball from starting out. Also, we do have some people who are in our country. Again, I'm in the U.S. I don't know where everybody's chiming in from, but we have professionals that are healers, like professional healers that are in the U.S. I know there are certain states. I can't speak for Illinois because ask me how I know, but I can speak for Illinois, at least at the time when I, was checking it out, where natural healers or naturopaths cannot legally, or could not, I don't know, I'm not going to say that right now today at this moment, but at the time when I was checking, could not legally practice as a doctor using the title doctor in the state of Illinois, at least at the time when I looked into it. What would have to happen is, along with the naturopathy degree, certification, experience, would have to be coupled with an MD. Guess why? Guess why? Because you can't regulate like what I'm doing now. Like, you need to get outside and get you some fresh air, go in some green space, get you some extra oxygen. How can the government get paid from that? Where they gonna get the money from for that? This is just me, the sunshine, the trees, sitting out in the park. So when the government can't get, like, it ain't no fun if the homies can't have none. Right. So if the homies can't have none, then they like, nah, we don't, nah, we're not going to be able to do that. So we've had people, and we probably still do. I don't know. I mean, I was in that space, I'm kind of sort of in that space, but not as much as I was back in the early 2000s. People who would have to do underground, if I can say that, do underground services for people, but they would work. And they were so effective at working, but since they were not able to be taxed by the government, they can't really promote it like that, right? So it became more of a word of mouth kind of thing, right? So you can advertise as an educator. You can totally advertise as a natural care educator with a naturopathic degree, a whole degree. Ask me how I know. I'm just saying, ask me how I know. Ask me how I know. You can, advertise, or you can promote your expertise as natural services. Not using the word healing. Healing, you got to be real careful with that, with the wording of how you would structure, whether it's a lecture, whether it's a consultation, whatever it is, you have to be really mindful. You had to be. I don't know about, like I said, right now, this second today. But I just had to be really mindful about the way you structured those words. Your clients or your patients are just going to be excited about the fact that they were able to be treated, by this healer. And so, yeah, they will, share it, with other people. But how can that person be legitimized? That's the word I was looking for. Legitimized when you have the government saying this ain't legitimate. This ain't legitimate. Now, also, these are people who have no clue. They don't even have clue about the standard Western medicine, let alone natural healing. But then they tell you it's not legitimate. It's not legitimate. So if anybody's out there, if you do take any supplements, y'all pray for me. Pray with me. Pray for me. If you're taking any kind of supplements, and if you shared them with a medical professional, and you were discouraged from taking them, just share with me. Just share with me. Just let me know. Just let me know. Just let me know. You were discouraged from taking. Now you should, and I'm going to say this, even though it's for entertainment purposes only, I got to get that disclaimer. You should let your medical professional know what supplements that you're taking, because it may interact if you're, taking any kind of medication. It could, interact with it. So I'm saying, be informative. But how many times or how many people have shared that because they want to disclose the information, but then they were discouraged from continuing the natural modalities? Tell me that. Tell me that. Tell me that. Medicine, current medicine, most of it started from a natural remedy, and then the chemicals were added into it. And then you have some that's just straight up from the lab, straight up from the lab. But when they started off, you go back into history, it was from natural remedies, right? Natural healing modalities and natural remedies, from plants and all that. That's where those amber bottles come from, where you have to keep things, and you read it and say keep stored in a cool, dark place, away from any moisture, because once you have extracted the medicinal properties from whatever it is that you started with, from the plant that you started with, it does need to be protected, because you don't want, especially if you have taken something and you dried it out, like to become an infusion or a tea. There's a difference. I don't know if you know that. But if you've extracted some things out for an infusion or for a tea, you do want to keep it protected in its dried state, because you don't want moisture to settle in, because then you're talking about mold, and then you're talking about setting up, other sorts of things that you didn't sign up for. So what I want to look at is going back to the psychological self-care. If you could tap your psychological self-care into your physical or into your medical self-care, what would that look like? So again, it's a mindset shift. We have been conditioned, if you don't know, we're in the US, but we have been conditioned in the US that if something is off or if something is going wrong, we're just going to get something to fix it, right? No matter what it is, we just want to fix. We want to fix right now. What kind of pill do you have? Give me that pill. I need that pill. I want that pill right now, right? So we're not, just as a country, just as a culture, we're not being encouraged to work alongside nature, because that's what nature does. So natural remedies, the plants, that the naturopaths or natural healers would use, they're meant to be assistants. They're the catalyst that help the body to do what it's supposed to do. The body is, again, such an amazing machine. It really is. It's an amazing machine. The body knows how to take care of itself, but sometimes there may need to be some assistance from nature. But nature is the catalyst that's going to assist your body into doing what it's naturally supposed to do. In order for it to do that, it's gonna take time. And if you've ever been down a path, if you want to go down a natural path, I want to encourage you to stick with it. It's been proven hundreds of years, thousands of years, natural remedies work. They actually work. But the part that we need to understand as human beings, and especially, again, I'm speaking for the US, if you're in another country, you have a different experience, let me know, put it in the chat. But what we need to understand is that nature, think about an oak tree. That's one of the biggest trees, right? Think about an oak tree, how long it took it to get so big, to get so beautiful. It had to go through seasons. It had to go through the shedding, the replenishing, the growing up. The shedding, the replenishing, the growing up, right? So we have these seasons. So if you think about, I'm going to go on a natural healing journey, and I don't want all these medications in my body, right? Think about how nature operates. It takes an entire year for you to turn another age. I'm just saying. Think about that. When you start planting things, when you start putting things in the ground, it needs to grow some roots so that it can grow up. Whatever it is that you put down there, it has to blossom, it has to bloom. Think about a caterpillar turned into a butterfly. The things that have to happen, the metamorphosis that has to happen in that cocoon. So if you decided that you're going to try some natural remedies because you just like, look, every time I go back to the doctor, they trying to give me some more medicine. You say one thing. Well, let me speak for myself. I be wanting to tell them, stop writing stuff down. Why you keep writing everything down? You just trying to have a conversation. But here's the thing. They got to get paid. They got to get paid. So whatever you say, they got to write it down. But they say, I'm older now. I'm older now. And what I know is every time you write something down, the insurance people don't want to give you no insurance. I'm just saying, stop writing all that stuff down. I know they have to write it down and take notes because they have to have a certain medical diagnosis, the something point, something that they need to get, from the book. But if you are at that point, and this is what I want to talk about. This is, along with the psychological self-care. But if you're at that point, because sometimes we do get to that point, like, look, something got to give. Something has to give. Like every time I go back to the doctor, like they're giving me something else. Like I got to take something else because when you get the one something else, again, them conversations. Well, your left ear. I mean the disclaimers on the end of the medication. Well, your left ear may close up. Your right shoulder may droop. You may end up with a club foot, but your skin will stop itching. Like it's all these sorts of things that'll happen once you start taking this medication. But then guess what? I got a pill for that. I got a pill for that. So you end up walking out, of the doctor's office looking like you coming out of the grocery store, well, the pharmacy, like you walking out of the grocery store because you end up with so many things that have to combat the one thing that you were trying to take care of when there are a lot of natural modalities, a lot of natural remedies that can really take care of that. But you got to be mindful that it's nature. Think about nature. Think about a season. Every season doesn't last forever. We got 4 in general, you know, throughout the year. You got some that overlap that are gray, in between, but there are marked seasons throughout the year, and there are certain things. Hello. And there are certain things that have to happen throughout those seasons. So if you look at your body in terms of it has to go through certain seasons. When you understand how your cells rebuild themselves, and you understand how certain systems kick in when certain other systems are slowing down. You also have to understand about your gut, right? Your gut is, they identify that, in general, identify it as your second brain, right? A lot of disease or dis-ease, a lot of things that go on in our bodies, chronic conditions, start from our gut. How many times are you giving your digestive system a rest? How many times? How many times? And I'm not talking about the intermittent fasting. This is just my understanding. Again, this is for entertainment purposes only. The intermittent fasting is to control the appetite, to lower the caloric intake. So you're just not going to eat. So y'all help me out if I don't have a good understanding. Thank you so much for my flowers while I'm here. Help me out if I don't have an understanding, but that's just my understanding of it. It's more so for a weight loss thing. I'm just going to say that because that's what people have told me. This is what the people be coming to tell me. I'm in wellness. I listen to people. And this is what you're doing. But my understanding is that's what it's for. It's to control your appetite and to decrease your calories. When calories ain't your enemy. I'm just saying that calories not your enemy because calories are your energy. I got bars. Correct. That's what people use. Okay, that's what people told me. That's what the people had told me. So remember, calories are not your enemies. Calories are your energy. Yeah. So we need those calories. We have to burn them, for energy. If you're intermittent fasting, this ain't no judgment against you. You do what you want to do because that's your body. That's your body. I'm just putting certain things out so that you can have other options. That's what we do here. We share sustainable, usable, useful, low cost or no cost strategies for self-care. That's what we do here. If that is the motivation to control your appetite and to decrease your calories, are you allowing your body to function the way it was intended to function? Because that's manipulation. That's manipulation of a naturally occurring function in your body. Hunger, right? Burning calories. Those are all naturally occurring functions in your body. So if you're going to manipulate that, can you incorporate that into your lifestyle? Let me see. You say, but watch and see if it's benefiting your body. If nothing changes, nothing changes. Yes, for sure. I'm going to say something about fasting. I was talking about the intermittent fasting, so I am going to say something about just fasting in general. But if that is the motivation, think about that. Is my body being allowed to function the way it was intended to function? And am I able to sustain this? Because when it's working, right, we looking good, we feeling good. Are you going to continue that for the rest of your life? That's, generally how I go into situations when I'm thinking about certain things, especially if I got to make some kind of major changes. And if it don't look good on this end, yeah, okay, well, I'll maybe set a date on there or whatever. Let me, just try it out. And I'm just being honest with you, right? So you want to look at, once you start doing something, especially if it's benefiting you, if it's benefiting your body, if it's working for your body, how long are you going to do it? Because if you stop, it's going to go back to doing whatever it was already doing, because you went in there and manipulated it with that intermittent fasting. So if the intermittent fasting was what was working, guess what? You got to go back to that. Hello. Hello. If that was what was working, if it was so effective, I can tell you, well, I can't tell you the number of times that I've heard that. Well, when I was intermittent fasting, I was doing this. So what happened? Then I stopped. Okay, well, you might need to go back. Then I went back and I went, so I've done this, I've done that. And when you hear people say, I've tried everything. I've tried everything. But how long? How long did you try everything? Did you try everything forever? Because if you try everything forever, something should be working, right? All of them shouldn't fail you. So you want to look at when you start to do something, and it's okay to explore. It's okay to do your research and development to find out what's going to work for you. But again, we're talking about your psychological self-care. What is your mindset? When we go into situations to make these major decisions, whether it's, for your body, for your finances, whatever, it's your psyche. You go to make these major, hang on. Ooh. Y'all pray with me, pray with me. Okay, on the top, this is my lemon water. When we get ready to make these major decisions, we don't want to do them out of desperation. When you go into situations in a desperate state, hey, Travel Aqua, how are you? Welcome in. When you go into these situations out of desperation, you're making decisions because you are desperate. Being desperate does not mean it is the end of the road. Being desperate puts you in a position to whereas you need to start breathing. Breathe it out so you can think it out, even if you need to write it out before you make this major decision. Now, I know social media puts us in a space of, oh, well, if it happened for her, I'm going to do this. And if it happened for her, I'm going to do this. You don't have the same DNA as that person. You don't have the same grit as that person. You may have more. I ain't saying that person has more. It just may be different. Your situations may be, hey, greetings. This is Alenis Elliot, thank you so much. You got to look at that. But social media, again, has put us in a mindset. This is back to our psyche. Has put us in a mindset that we got to be doing what this other person is doing. Or if I do what this other person is doing, it has to work for me. And then when it doesn't, we're going to put down whatever it was that was happening. Oh, that stuff don't work. Oh, I tried that. It don't work. But did you follow the directions? Did you follow the instructions? Did you do everything you were supposed to do? And even still, there are some things that are just going to happen to us because of our genetics. We can be doing every single thing right. We can have it all, in order, eating the fruits, the vegetables, drinking the water, getting the rest, keeping down the stress. And there are just some things that genetically are going to happen to us. How many people do you know, when it comes to breast cancer, who did not have a family history? My mother. My mother didn't have a family history of breast cancer, and she ended up developing breast cancer. Wasn't a smoker, wasn't a drinker, wasn't, eating all crazy. She actually started, eating, healthier. The older that she got, she started eating healthier. So she didn't have that history, when she developed breast cancer. And I remember asking her one time, and this really messed me up, her answer. I asked her, I'm like, Mama, did they tell you how you got it? I mean, I was, a teenager when she was first diagnosed, diagnosed. I think I was 16. And I'm like, did they tell you how you got it? Like what, what made you get breast cancer? She said, I'm a woman. I was like, whoa. That kind of messed me up. Like that's one of those things that she said to me, like throughout her journey. This was, kind of towards the beginning because we're trying to figure out like where did this come from? She was like, I'm a woman. I'm like, okay. So wow. So does this mean this is gonna happen to everybody? But she was one that did, genetically, she didn't have a history. She didn't have a history in her family, and she developed breast cancer. So there are some things that are just going to happen, but we can be proactive to just try and get our bodies in the best position to take the blow. Sometimes we do things we think is fun, again, this ain't no judgment. I'm observing. But we do things that we think is fun, we're having fun, fun with our food, we're going to these fancy places. And just because you got a fancy place with a high price tag on the food, baby, that don't mean it's the best. That don't mean it costs you a little more, but that don't mean it's the best. Because when they start slathering all the gravies and the butters and the shortenings and the lard and all this other kind of stuff all over the food, it totally changes. It totally changes from what, it started off as. And I'm not saying it ain't good, because there'll be some good food, depending on what it is that you're eating. But you want to be mindful of what it is that you are putting in your body. It is the temple. It is your temple. It's the only space you get to live in while you living. So let's do our best with that. But along with that, which is what put me in this space about psychological self-care, think. Again, go with mindset shift. If that's your word, if that's your catchphrase, if that's your key phrase, go with mindset shift. But just understand that that is your psychological self-care that you are investing in when you say, wait a minute, let me just think. So some things you just have to think about. Just give yourself a minute to think about, like, do I really want this? Am I really hungry? Or is this show just so good? Because we've been doing, I'm raising my hand, how the pastor say, raise your hand. Yeah, this me. Sometimes something be looking so good, like I'm about to watch this movie. And I got to get all my snacks right. What is it with movies and snacks? I mean, you got to have all the snacks. We've been psychologically programmed that you got to have snacks when it comes to the movies. Tell me I ain't right. We've been psychologically programmed. We need some snacks when the movie is on. So you got to go get your bed. Right, you laughing, but it's true. Right, we got to go get all of the snacks. Like, I need this, And if you just you by yourself, why you need all them snacks? Why you need all them snacks to watch the movie? Okay, how many minutes? Okay, this is 2 hours and 10 minutes. Okay, yeah. Because at 30 minutes, I'm going to eat it. Or am I by myself? Is it just me? Is it just me? Like, when it's 30 minutes in, I'm going to save this. See, I got to save my chocolate, though. I'm telling y'all about me. My chocolate got to be towards the end, because that's, that's the end of it. Okay, I'm right. All right. So that's the end of that's the end of the movie. So that's when we're going to push the chocolate on to the end. But again, psychologically, that's where we are. So I want to encourage you to invest into your psychological self-care by thinking. Just thinking first. Some things we just need to take a break, pause, do some deep breathing to say, is this really for me? Am I really willing to do the work? Now, spending the money, getting it off it used to be the Home Shopping Network, right? Middle of the night, I can order the stuff. How many people ordered all the machines? They order all the machines. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. And then when it gets there, it becomes a blanket rack, right? You just spend all this money. So that don't be the hard part. Just getting the stuff, right? Getting this. I'm gonna push this. And now that we got all these other things online, we can get it in a day. We can get it in 48 hours. We can do a rush order because I'm serious about this. But just think, am I wanting this out of desperation because I'm tired of being here? And I'm hoping, so in my desperation, I'm hoping that this is going to be the magic fix. So I'm going to go for it. But at the same time, not thinking I'm willing to get in the mud for this. I'm willing to get in the trenches for this. Because this is me. I'm willing to do all these things for me so that I don't end up back in this desperate state. How many times do we take that as a proactive approach? Not a reactive when you getting in there and they pulling out the chart and you like, Jesus, it's like a big old scroll. Well, you got this and you got this and you got this and you got this. Because they had to run this battery of tests on you because you came in because they had lack of information on you for your medical history. And I'm going to say this about that. Make sure you at least once a year, even if everything is feeling good, especially if you got insurance, but even if you don't have insurance, I'm just saying, here's a hack. Go to the emergency room. I'm just saying, there are low cost and there are no cost clinics, in different neighborhoods. You may have to do that. If you don't have medical insurance, I'm just saying you got to do what you got to do. But in the ER, legally, they got to see you. You might have to pack, you may need some snacks for that. Now you get some ER snacks, you know, you may have to pack some snacks. If you don't have insurance, you got to do what you got to do. Again, we're here in the U.S. and hey, uh, we don't have universal health care, so you got to do what you got to do. But at least once a year, go and get something checked out. You know, go and get a full battery. I ain't telling you what to say, but you might have some stuff that you just can't figure out where it is. That's all. That's all I'm gonna say. You might have some things going on like, well, I'm not really sure if it's, because then they got to run a whole bunch of tests on you. I'm just saying, if that's what you got to do, we sharing these self-care strategies. If that's what you got to do, I mean, I'm not saying it to be, you know, humorous or to lighten it, because the reality is we have so many people in the U.S., in our country, that don't have health care coverage and don't realize that those are things you can actually do. Like, those are hacks that you really can use, and they can't just put you out. Like, you know, if they do, you might end up owning the hospital. I'm just saying, you might. Now, they can make you wait, though. I will say that. They can make you wait, but wait it out. If that means that you need to pack your snacks and come in there, if it's 24 hours, if it's 40, wait it out. If you don't have any insurance, get checked out. Find some kind of way where you can get checked out. But there are also, when you look into like different communities or different neighborhoods, look up free health fairs. Look up free health fairs. Go to the health fairs. You can get those screenings. You can get your blood work. Your blood pressure. You can get your. I went to one and they were doing cholesterol screenings. Cholesterol. You can get your A1C. You can get You can get the prostate. Not the digital exam, but you can get the blood work. You can do swabbing. You know, STDs. Mammograms, mobile mammograms. There's all sorts of things that you can do. Just look it up. Look it up in your neighborhood. If it's not in your neighborhood, look up the neighboring neighborhood, you know, the adjacent neighborhood or the adjacent town. There are going to be free health fairs, and they are generally year round. Year round. Look up the whatever awareness month it is. You can just put it in your, you know, your search, whatever awareness month, and then look up whatever it is. If it's liver, you know, cancer awareness month, then look it up, you know, and see if there's a health fair or free screenings. There are a lot of hospitals, a lot of clinics. They will sponsor those free screenings for you to come in and to get yourself checked out. You said, great conversation. You have to be okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us, Swaggins. Thank you so much. I'm gonna sign out too. I praise God. I done made it. I done made it an hour. But go and get those different things checked out. Again, even if it's just annually, get yourself checked out. Get yourself checked out so that you will know your health history. Some of us don't even know our own health history. Now, I'm Gen X. I don't know, you know, the ages of, you know, my audience here today. I'm Gen X. Was she a boomer? No, she was born before 45. So my mom was a traditionalist. Yeah. The generation before boomers. Right. Yeah, she couldn't have been a boomer. Okay, anyway, yeah, because my siblings are boomers. But yeah, so I'm Gen X. I'm the youngest. So those conversations weren't had, you know, from parent to child, because that was the parent's business, and then your child, you mind your business. Your business was being a child. I'm just saying. Just saying. So this is, hey, what's up, Auntie? There go one of my relatives. So when we're talking about passing along our health history, a lot of us don't know. So again, I'm the younger of my sib group, and I'm Gen X, and so they were boomers, and my mom was a traditionalist, so we didn't exchange information. Like, why would we need to know that, right? That's the moment. Like, why are we exchanging information, you know? I mean, my dad, I know he was in the Army and he was strong, you know, and he worked, you know, it was one of those kind of things. So did we exchange that information? Now, did they know their whole health history? Maybe, maybe not, because they were working. You know, a lot, you know, from that generation had to quit school to go to work. Like, you 12, all right, you 12 years old, you need to come out that classroom, you need to come out here in this field, you need to come help me with this, you know, with these beans or with these greens or whatever. So a lot of times they didn't even know their own health history. So establish some form of a baseline for yourself. However you need to do that. And especially if you have insurance and your job is covering you with your insurance, go afraid. Go afraid. There are support groups. So if you, let's say for instance, if this is the case, I don't know if this is your case, but if it's the case and you got some digestive stuff going on, you think, oh my God, if I go in there, they're going to tell me I got the big C, you know, they're going to tell, they may. Whatever it is you're thinking that it may be, go, again, put this in your search engine. These are all hacks. These are all no-cost hacks for you. Put it in a search engine and put support group behind that. Whatever it is. So if you think it's colon, you know, if you think it's colon cancer, okay, you put colon cancer support group. Put that in there. Reach out to the support group. Let them know you want to go, you're afraid, you need to go get a colonoscopy. And do they have advocates? Because there are advocates that belong to these different organizations, these different clinics, these different groups that will go with you, that will provide that support for you. The information is out there. We just have to be a little bit more willing to do a little bit more for ourselves. So again, that is for your physical health or your physical wellness, but it's going to take you investing in your psychological self-care in order to do that, because that's the way you're going to be able to shift your mind. So again, if you identify it as a mindset shift, that is totally fine. But your mind is your psyche. So it is your psychological self-care. And what are you doing to invest in it? Or had you not even thought about, like, yeah, I should be investing, in my psychological self-care. Some people may not have thought about that. But those situations, those events, that I attended over these past 2, 3, this Sunday. I told you I've been peopling. Wait, Thursday. So Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. Right, yeah. Okay. So those events that I went to, that's what sparked in my head. Like, this is a really good conversation to have so that we can start to just think about those things in a different way. Because some people are just afraid. It's not, and it's not unwarranted. We got some groups, because some of us, we are not going to the doctor, because when we go in there, they're gonna tell us that it's bad, they're gonna keep me, and I ain't gonna never come out. Some people feel like that. So it's not unwarranted. Or when I go in there, they're gonna leave me sitting in this room all day. They're not gonna give me no pain medication. So ain't no sense in me going. I'm just gonna have to run on down here to the store and go ahead and get what I need, right? I'm gonna take this card liver, or I'm just gonna take this and I'm gonna sit down somewhere. That may happen. But even if you are afraid, reach out to those support groups. And then we have some. So we got the strong people, right? So you got your strong friend or your strong relative who don't really disclose a lot of things because we figure it out, right? So we those people like, I'll figure this out. I'll be okay. I'll figure it out. That's also a resource for you as well. You don't have to figure it out. That's what my point is. You don't have to figure it all out by yourself, especially if fear is going to be what's hindering you from taking care of you. I'm not saying don't be afraid. Fear is a real, emotion. It is a real energy. Staying trapped in fear is where the issues come in, because it can paralyze you to not move forward to take care of yourself. We don't want to stay trapped in fear. Not saying that fear doesn't happen, because stepping out into fear, stepping out on faith is courage. Just because you are brave, it doesn't mean that you can't be fearful at the same time, right? You can have courage. That is bravery, right? I'm going to do this anyway. I'm afraid. I don't know what's going to happen. That's courage. That's where that courage comes from. So be mindful that you invest enough into your psychological self-care that you can step back in those moments. I mean, if you hit those moments of desperation where you're like, okay, this is it. I done tried all this. I done tried all that. And now I'm going to go and, try this thing. Again, if we're talking about things that are going to happen, with our bodies, make sure you do check in with your medical professional. Hopefully you have one that you have a relationship with and they have a health history on you. And then they'll be able to give you some guidance. Even if you decide that, okay, I'm going to use a natural healer, like this is what I would rather have, as opposed to, medical. If you have insurance, or if you are again, I'm in the United States. If you want the U.S. to pay for something, you still need to check in with a medical professional. I'm not saying don't do the natural healing, because I'm all for that. I'm 10 toes down for that till I'm 6 feet under. But you do need to check in with somebody that's registered with the AMA if you in the U.S. I'm just saying, in case some things happen that you're going to need some form of assistance. Again, if you got to use that hack where you're going to go into the free clinic, where you're going to go down to the ER, I'm just saying, they got to, especially the ER. The ER got to see you. They got to see you. They got to see you. And you may or may not know exactly what's going on, so you just need some tests ran on you. I'm just saying. You're going to take that. That is a useful low cost or no cost strategy. Again, I got to say, this is for entertainment purposes only. But let's look out for ourselves, guys. Let's look out for our psyche. Look out for our psychological self-care. Make sure we're going to continue to invest in it and not allow frustration, exhaustion, and desperation to prevent us from investing in ourselves. And just like the conversation that we had earlier, when I was talking about my observation in that particular engagement room, that people were I mean, they were on it. They were on it. They were on it. And that was all about how can I be more popular? Now, I'm not saying them people weren't taking care of themselves. I don't know them. I don't know them people. I don't know them people. But I know what I saw, that I was observing in their room. And that was about being popular. Like, what do I need to pay? What do I need to give? What do I need to do? Because I want to be popular. I want people to join up with me. I want people to follow me. I want people in my community. So I'm going to pay what I need to pay. I'm going to sit here as long as I need to sit here. I'm going to be patient until I get my turn to reach this spotlight so that I can have more people to engage with me. Take that same energy. Not saying that that's you, but I'm just using it in general as an example. Put that same energy behind your psychological self-care. Oh, Lord, here they go with this thing. Okay, wait, hold tight, y'all. Did I get it on the first try? I got it on the first try. Put that same energy behind you taking care of your psyche, taking care of your mind, and understanding that everything is not for everybody. Take genetics into consideration, especially if you're talking about doing things, with your body. Oh, this is what I wanted to say about fasting. Swaggins just left, but make sure you go on Swaggins at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time because she does the Plated Community, which is her meal prep. But this is what I want to say about the fasting because she mentioned that in the fasting. I'm not saying don't fast because there are real reasons for you to fast. When I asked the question about have you ever given your digestive system a chance to rest, I was not referring to intermittent fasting. I just talked about intermittent fasting because so many people have told me why they fast, intermittently because they're trying to control some things. And again, like I said, that is manipulation of a natural process. You're manipulating, your digestive system, you're manipulating your energy system, you're trying to decrease, the calories and you're trying to control your appetite. All those are naturally occurring processes in your body. So that is manipulation. But when we're talking about fasting, fasting is a physical thing. When it's coupled with spiritual reasons behind it, it becomes amplified. That's what I'm gonna do. It becomes amplified in its purposes in your body. And this is what my first lady, shout out to my first lady. Well, she's now my first lady, Emerita, but shout out to my first lady. I love when she would say, if you're fasting just because you're not eating and you don't have no prayer behind it, you ain't got nothing spiritual with it, you just on a diet for the day. You're on a diet for the day. And she was right. You're on a diet for the day. If you're just fasting because you just don't want to eat because you think you're gonna lose some weight, you're just on a diet. You're not fasting. Fasting has a legitimate purpose in the body. It allows your body systems to reset. Again, I'm not talking about what I've been told and what people have talked to me about with intermittent fasting. I'm talking about two totally different things. I'm talking about fasting, literally giving your digestive system a chance to rest, coupled with a spiritual component. I didn't say religious, so don't be getting reckless in my comments. With a spiritual component, meaning, or I'm going to say psychological. We're talking about psychological self-care with a psychological component combined with it. So the fasting itself, the act of fasting is physical. We're talking about psychological self-care. Let's tap in to the psychological self-care of the reasoning behind the fasting so that we can tap deeper into our ability to sustain. And again, if you're fasting and all day you think about food, like she said, you just on a diet for the day. You're on a diet for the day. And what will you lose? Some water weight. You can get on the scale, you feel good about yourself, the next day. Okay, that's fine. But when you start drinking your water and you replenish what you need, in your body, your weight is going to go back, to where it was. Think about that. So there's a difference. I'm not talking about the intermittent fasting that I've been told about, that people have talked to me about, that have shared with me. They're doing it to suppress their appetite, decrease their caloric intake to lose weight. That's what I've been taught. And that's what people have shared with me. But when I'm talking about fasting, I'm talking about taking an amount of time. Because you can fast from like media, like fast from social media. You can fast from different crowds. You can fast from alcohol, like whatever. You can fast from certain things. But the fasting I'm talking about is when you're allowing your digestive system to just rest. Because we'll be working. The digestive system be working overtime. If you're thinking you got the solid 3 meals a day and 2 snacks in between or whatever it is, or if you got this one big meal, I'll talk about that too. But if you got this one big meal that you're eating, you are forcing your digestive system to work. It's working. It's working all day long. And when do you allow your digestive system to actually rest from digestion so they can start processing what's already there? You can test yourself. You can test your, it's called the bowel transit time. Test yourself to see how long food stays in your body. One way to do it is with beets. You can do it with beets. That'll give you an indication. Another way, asparagus. Try it with some asparagus. If you know, put some, you can put some laughing emojis, in the comments, if you know those things. You can test what your bowel transit time is, do a fast, and then go back and then see if that was able to improve it. But you don't know, when you're fasting your body, especially if you're going with the water. And I'll say this: if you decide that you're going too fast, the physical part, and you're only going to do water, be mindful of your activity. Generally, when you fast, if you're doing a fast, especially if it's going to be 24 hours or more, your activity should be lower. Remember, you don't have the same calories going in, even if it's from trash. I'm just saying, even if it's from not the healthiest food, you still got some kind of energy you can pull from that with your calories. But if you're not putting anything in, that output is going to be your physical movement. Slow down on putting stuff out. That's when people start to get dizzy. It's like, oh, it ain't even work for me. I'm not gonna fast no more. No, you got to slow down. Remember, you're slowing down your digestive system. So you got to slow down everything else so that you don't overwork your digestive system. That's what part of where you're holding your stress. Like all those things are going on in your digestive system. So just slow down. But for my one millers, all I eat is one time a day. And why do I keep gaining weight? Because your body ain't trusting you. Because they don't know when, your body don't know when it's gonna eat again. Like no, no, no. This person don't like feed me. So yeah, I'ma hold on to every little thing I got. You have to keep your metabolism going by giving it something to do. Now, I don't mean you out eating these big burgers and these chili cheese fries and Takis and all this other kind of stuff. That's not what I mean. It can be small pieces of fuel, which is your food, small pieces of fuel, like that. Remember on the train, the conductor had to put the coals down there in it, to get that train going, to get that combustion, moving. Just think of it as small pieces of fuel to keep your machine running. Small pieces. Space it out. Space it out. Because that one meal, your digestive system is like, what in the world is this? And now I got to get in here and figure out how to break all this down. Yeah, okay, bet. Some of this gonna be left undigested. Some of this gonna come back and remind you of what you ate when you get that acid reflux. Right? Like, look, you shouldn't have did on that. You doing too much down here. We trying to work this thing out down here. So be mindful of that. If you're a one mealer, you wait all day to eat and you just go at it and like, I ain't eat nothing else after 6 o'clock. Well, child, your digestive system got work to do for 3 days. So what you just put in there. So be mindful of that. Be mindful. I'm not saying that you cannot do that. If that is your style and that's what you want to do, go right ahead. Go right ahead and do that. And I'll say this about water. So make sure you stay hydrated. But you also can get, I don't know if you heard of H3O, but you can get water from your fruits and vegetables. You can also get that, but you still need your clear water. So don't discount that. Like, you still want to get the clear water in your system. But you can also eat, especially when we come around to when the fruits are in seasons, the high water fruits are in season, you can get some of it from there. So you don't have to, I'm not saying this, you might have to, depending on what your weight is, walk around with this, this gallon and with these markers. But if it works, because I think those people are like phenomenal. The ones who got them big old things with the markers on it and they keep up with it. Kudos, kudos, kudos. But your hydration is a gradual thing. It's a gradual thing. And I look, hey, I'm gonna raise my hand. Remember I said when the pastor say, this about you. Sometimes if I got a 16-ounce bottle of water, I'm gonna drink 8 ounces right there, right off the rip. And I ain't sipping because I got stuff to do. I'm gonna drink it. And then I'll come back. It may be a few minutes later, and I'm gonna drink the rest of it. No. I saw this. It's funny. So this is a funny story. So I saw this naturopath when I went. I recently went to Belize, right? And so he asked me, and he has an accent. He's an Indian doctor from India, and he has an accent. So he asked me, how do I drink my water? And I'm like, I drink it. He's like, no. How do you drink your water? I'm like, I just drink my water. So he showed me his water bottle. And he said, if this was yours, it was like his looked like it may have been like maybe like a 20 ounce or 30, whatever. It was bigger than a 16-ounce water bottle. So he said, show me. He said, this was filled with water and it was yours. Show me how you would drink. And so he not take his water, but he pointed. He said, "Where would you drink?" And I pointed to the middle. He said, "Oh no, no gulp. Don't do not." He was like, "Don't gulp." He said, "Sip, sip, 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 sip." He was like, "No, no, no." I was like, "What?" That's how I drink. I mean, because I drink half, like I just told you. I'm gonna drink half of it. Whatever it is I got, I just drink half. That's just again my psyche in my mind. Let me do this because I got something else to do, and I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna finish the rest as long as I get my ounces in. And I know I'm supposed to be sipping, but I be having stuff to do. I'm just saying. So we have to be mindful of the fact that hydration continue like the rain. Like all your rain don't come at one time. Even if it's heavy, it tapers off. It tapers off. It tapers off. So think about your hydration like that. So you're taking these sips throughout the days. That's why I said the people who got those markers, that's really good. And with the ones with the timer and all that, so sip to here, that's actually really good. And that's, how we should. I'm using air quotes, but that's how we should be drinking, like sipping, so that we can stay hydrated. Cause if you drink your water like that, like you know, gulping. When it's time for you to go, you like, I need to get up out of here. I need to get up out of here. So you want to sip. You want to stay nice and hydrated. You want to stay nice and moist. You want to stay nice and moist throughout the day. So guys, if you don't have any questions, or if you do have questions, put them in the chat. You can also reach out to me. You can send me a DM if you got any questions about our conversation that we had today, because we about to land this plane and I made it. It seems like the cottonwood and calmed down out here. I made it. I actually made it through. I want to thank you all so much for tuning in today. Again, this is the Self-Care Suite. I am Coach Robin Renee. I am your hostess in the Self-Care Suite. But we on the move today. We're not in the studio. We're not in the studio. We sitting in the park. We enjoying the sunshine. We're enjoying this green space. We're enjoying this good weather. I'm gonna tell y'all something funny in a minute. But yeah, so we come here on Sundays at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. I made this commitment towards the beginning of the year because Sunday is my chill day. Sunday is truly my chill day, but I'm like, okay, let me bring in my community, my new community, because I just started taking actually both the talk and the tube more serious this year. I was on them other apps before, but I said I'm gonna take these two more seriously this year. So I'm like, okay, let me bring my new community, into my space. It was a big leap for me, but I said I was going to do it, so I'm going to follow through on it. So I'm going to stay now. I don't know if I'm bringing y'all back next year. I'm just being honest, because this be my day. This is my day where I like to cool out. And I already told you some of these lives may occur from my hammock, and if it does, then maybe we're going to take a nap. I don't know. I'm just going to let it flow. I'm going to let the spirit lead me. I'm going to let the spirit lead me into what we need to be doing. But again, this is where we come to kick off our shoes, to relax our feet, and to share. First, we discussed the many ways to wellness, and to share sustainable, useful, low cost or no cost self-care strategies, because financial challenges should not prevent us from investing in our wellness account every single day. We should be doing something for our wellness every single day. And that's why we come here to exchange. I don't want to come in a teaching capacity where I'm saying, you do this, you do that. That's not what we're doing here. We're going to actually share and have some conversations. We're going to exchange those ideas, because somebody may have something that's really, really useful that's no cost. And somebody else may try it and like, okay, I'm going to keep this and I'm going to put this in my self-care backpack, or my self-care arsenal, or my self-care treasure chest, or my self-care toolbox. Whatever it is, we want to give you as many strategies as possible so that you can continue to take care of yourself when money is not there, right? If you want to go out and splurge, you go out and splurge. But when the money is not there, what do you have to take care of yourself? And that's going to be effective, and it's going to be useful, and it's going to be sustainable. That's what we want to do. We want to share that here. We do that here live Sundays, 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. Unless I'm traveling, but I'll put up a post to let you know if it's going to be at a different time. But for the most part, we've been doing pretty good with Sundays. Also, and welcome in everybody who's just joining, because we're about to wrap up. But welcome in. Also on Mondays and Fridays on the talk, not on the tube, but on the talk, we're live 6 a.m. Central Standard Time for Pilates. We do a Pilates flow. It is authentic Pilates from Joseph Pilates. We're not out there making up stuff. People who do, that's their business. I ain't got nothing to do with that. But you will hit this gold star here so that you can join up with us to continue our flow, right? So that's for our subscribers. Sometimes we leave the beginning of class open so that people can come in to get breath work and spinal work so that you can get out and get your day started. And sometimes we just start off in the closed sub live. But either way, you're going to get an opportunity to have a preview as to our to our flow and decide, okay, well, I want to be down, or yeah, I don't. I'm good. I'm going to pass on that. That is totally your business. You can check out our classes. We have two different flows. Mondays and Fridays are the fundamental flow, and that's when we're covering the basic Pilates foundational principles and exercises. You get an opportunity to break them down. You get an opportunity to ask questions. I can see you, you can see me. That's in our virtual studio, which is also Mondays and Fridays at 6 a.m. Central Standard Time. So on the talk, the subs only see me. But if you're in the virtual studio, you see me, I see you, we see each other. That's Mondays and Fridays, 6 a.m. Central Standard Time. Tuesdays and Thursdays Central Standard Time is our functional flow. We're still doing the authentic Pilates, the original 34 exercises, but we also, in our functional flow, incorporate props in the flow. We also do reformer to mat exercises. So if you're interested in that, that's what we do on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Now on Tuesdays and Thursdays, it literally is a flow. Unless we're going into a new set of exercises, it's not a lot of demos because that population or that particular group has a working knowledge, has a pretty solid working knowledge of their bodies and of Pilates. They understand the language more fluently of Pilates. And so there basically ain't a lot of breaks. Now, initially, you would need to go through like at least a month of our functional flow, fundamental flow to transition over to the functional flow. But I heard you, I heard the people. We have our either privates or consultations on Wednesday mornings at 6 a.m. Central Standard Time. You see, there's a pattern here. It's going to happen at 6 o'clock in the morning. But if you say like, okay, I've been doing Pilates for 25 years, I know what I'm doing, I don't need to be going through no basic class, because you may not. I got to be fair and I got to respect that. But that Wednesday morning would be your opportunity to have a consultation with me and actually do Pilates with no demonstrations. There would be no demonstrations, and it would just be me, you know, saying exercises to you and then for you to do. So it's more like a competency consultation. If you decide, no, I need to be over here with this functional flow people because I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. In fact, I made the whole thing up. Hey, well, Lil Richard, I'm the architect. Cool. If that's who you are, Wednesday morning would be your time to shine with me. And in that way, I would be able to assess if you do need to actually, in fact, be in our fundamental flow, or if you would just move straight into the functional flow. And I'm hoping that makes sense. I'm hoping that makes sense because there's a whole safety factor there. And I ain't trying to be the part of nobody getting injured at all. If I can help it, that's not what I'm trying to do. I want to make sure that you are safe, but I also want to make sure that you understand how to navigate with your body through the exercises, not watching what somebody else is doing and you just jump out there and do it and it's not being as effective for you as it could be. So I'm hoping that makes sense. So you technically don't have to go through the entire fundamental flow class if you meet with me for a consultation for that one session, and there won't be instruction. It'll just be me, you know, saying the exercises and then you executing the exercises. So I'm hoping that makes sense. So you do have options to either be in our fundamental flow or our functional flow throughout the week. So it is up to you. Or if you want to do both, you're like, look, I need both. I want to do both. But you still would need to meet with me on Wednesday morning. Not every Wednesday, just that one. The one session, that consultation, so that we can establish, you know, the best place for you to be able to flow with the Pilates posse. So I'm hoping that makes a whole lot of sense. Thank you all for joining so much. Thank you for sharing the live. Thank you for the comments. Thank you for liking the live. And thank you for being here. Thank you so much for being here. So I'm gonna wrap this thing up. I'm gonna wrap this party up. It's like people walking past, not a lot, but it's like a few people walking past. Because I was actually gonna go to a different. So this is Ash. Oh, Ash SAHM. Welcome in, but we are winding down. I am Coach Robin Renee. On Sundays, I serve as your hostess in the self-care suite, and this is where we come to kick off our shoes. I got mine on though because I'm out here outside. I'm outside. We've come to kick up our shoes, to relax our feet, and to discuss the many ways to wellness. We also exchange useful, sustainable, low cost, or no cost self care strategies because financial challenges should not prevent us from investing in our wellness account every day. We should do something for our self care every day. And I hope you got something from this psychological self care conversation. I hope that you will look at your wellness a lot differently. Look at it through your psychological eyes. Again, if it's mindset shift that sits better with you, hold on to that. But I'm talking about your psychological self-care. What does it look like? What does it feel like? How do you operate, in your body with your psyche leading, not just your body, right? So not just, you thinking with your stomach. You're thinking with your stomach. You put all that stuff on it, on your plate. You think with your mind. How many times do you step back before you make a decision when it comes to investing in your wellness account, when it comes to your body? How many times do you step back and say, oh, I may need to amp this thing up and do some preventative things so that I don't have the systems breaking down when it's something that I can prevent? Again, genetically, there are some of us just going to end up where we're going to end up. That we are not going to have a whole lot of control over. But the things that we do have control over when it comes to taking care of our temples, when it comes to being attentive to those daily things, to those sustainable things, we want to be as best prepared as we can be so that if something came along that we could not prevent, our bodies are in a better position to sustain the blow. That's where we want to go. That's how we want to ride this thing off into the sunset. That's what we're doing here. So again, thank you so much for joining. And yeah, I'm going to end this thing. So who am I saying farewell to first? So this is John Keeling. Thank you so much for joining, but we are signing out. So tubers, I think I'm going to let you all go first. Yeah. All right, tubers. Peace. Can we get out? It ain't letting me out. Okay. There it is.